Hi, everybody. In this video, I'm going to go over the audit plan and the audit procedures that we do. This section also is going to include documentation, but that will be on the next video. So let's talk about this thing called the audit plan. So when we talked about the definition of an audit, we talked about how it's a checklist of steps to gather evidence. So the audit plan is simply just that, the checklist that we need to have that tells us what we need to do in order to gather the evidence we need to get to that level of reasonable assurance. So this says the audit plan is a document that outlines a list of steps or audit procedures the auditor must perform to complete the audit. These audit procedures will gather the evidence auditors need to support management assertions, and these procedures will outline the nature, extent, and timing of the control and substantive tests used to bring risk to an acceptable level. So again, it's just that checklist of steps or procedures that we have to do in order to gather the evidence we need to get to that level of reasonable assurance about those financial statements. So this audit plan, checklist of steps, what are those steps? Those steps are the various audit procedures that we have available to us in order to carry out the audit. So I have a little acronym for you called Trick Road, and that will help you to remember the 8 different types of audit procedures that we can use to gather audit evidence. So the first one is tangible asset inspection. So tangible asset inspection is a great test of existence. So we have a list of all the assets that we have on hand, and we can go and find them and make sure they actually exist and inspect those assets. So let's say we're looking at all of the new vehicles we purchased during the year and we have a list of all of the VIN numbers. We can go into the parking lot and find those specific vehicles. That's a tangible asset inspection. The next audit procedure that we have is recalculation. So recalculation is simply that, checking the math, adding up a list of numbers. This is really done primarily with computers nowadays. The day of the 10 key or the 10 column green sheets is long behind us. So recalculation, checking the math, checking the formulas in Excel spreadsheets, making sure that everything is included that should be included, making sure we have all those numbers pulling from the correct source. That would all be a part of recalculation. Inquiry is the I in Trick Road, and this is asking questions and getting answers. And you might say, well, that doesn't really provide us with any evidence, but actually it does. So inquiry is asking those questions, getting those answers, and then we would document whatever it is that we got. Inquiry can be verbal, having a conversation. It can be an email where we're asking questions and writing. But having the documentation of what we have asked and what responses we have gotten is a form of evidence called inquiry. Typically, when we use inquiry, we would like to follow that up with some other form of evidence. So a lot of times we'll have inquiry followed up with document inspection. So we ask a question, get an answer, and then verify the answer. That's the whole idea behind skepticism. The next one, the C in Trick Road, is confirmation. So confirmation is asking a third party to verify information. So a lot of times we will use confirmation on accounts receivable. So our client gives us a list of all of the companies that owe them money, and we go and send a confirmation letter to those companies and verify that that amount is correct. That's confirmation. Reperformance is a test of control that we will use to redo the control to make sure that we're coming up to the same thing. So maybe we want to look at the three-way match between an invoice, a purchase order, and a receiving report that shows what we ordered is what we got is what we paid for. So looking at those 3 pieces of information again, to make sure that you're coming up to the same thing that the client came up to. So that's reperformance. Observation is another test of control where we will be watching someone perform that control. So observation, watching someone do a job. Typically, observation is done when we are looking at inventory observation. So the client is ultimately going to be responsible for counting their own inventory, but we would watch them count their inventory. So that would be that inventory observation, watching someone do a job. Analytical procedures is looking for trends in the data. So this could be an example, comparing the current year results with the industry averages to see how well we're doing compared to the industry, or looking at the current year results compared to the prior year results. Those would be examples of analytical procedures. The last one, document inspection, is the one that is the most heavily utilized. So, looking at documents or records and verifying what they are stating, and comparing that to the trial balance or the general ledger, to make sure that everything has been recorded completely and accurately and everything actually occurred. So, those are our various audit procedures. Check in on my next video to learn more about documentation.